I'm so happy you can be with us and answer some of the burning questions on our buyers and sellers' minds. And I can't think of a better person to have than you. So, everybody, I want to introduce Jill Bartoletti from Movement Mortgage. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, I titled this video series Waiting for the World to Change because I feel like there's some burning questions, as I mentioned, that have a lot to do with waiting and seeing what's going to happen. And they think things are going to change with not only sales prices coming down, but interest rates coming down as well. So I thought we'd just dig in and get started and help people understand what's really happening.
Sounds good. Let's do this.
Okay, so the three questions that we're going to be asking you today to hopefully shed some light on is the first one is I won't be able to afford a new mortgage if I can't get the same interest rate I currently have, which I got during COVID. And as you know, during COVID, the interest rates were what, 2, 3, 4%.
I mean, it felt like they were, practically free. The rates were so incredibly
They
low.
were practically free. So I understand that question, and then we want to give them some strategies and ideas around that. The second question is, I want to wait for the interest rates to go back down below 4% before I buy something. And then the third question you can help us answer is, oh, I think I'll rent. I think I'll rent until these things happen. I want to wait for the world to change and wait for the sales prices to come down and the interest rates to go back down. So I would love to have you answer these three, and I'm gonna break these down into 3-part series in case somebody thinks that doesn't apply to me. I'm just going to jump ahead to the next question. Does that sound
good? These are big questions, so I would say that they absolutely are ones we hear every day.
Okay. All right. So let's get started on question one. I won't be able to afford a new home mortgage if I can't get the same interest rate that I have right now. And I got that during COVID. They probably refinanced and got somewhere 2, 3, 4% free money basically on the interest rate. So tell me, how would you answer that question if somebody asked you that?
I would say that we need everybody to begin to kind of mourn the loss of where rates were then, because those rates were artificially brought down. The stimulus in the economy, where we were at that particular time, it was designed to bring activity. It was designed to do this. And I do not see rates going back to that place. And there's a strong likelihood that consumers don't want that either. They may not realize what would have to take place in the economy to put us in that position.
That's a true statement. The disaster would have to happen for it to come back.
Exactly. And so a more stable market presents rates in maybe the high 4s, 5s. That's stability where economic growth can happen and we can be in a good position. That's a healthy market. So people should not be waiting for COVID rates. COVID is now, been part of our rear view mirror, and it's something we'll all remember, but not likely to bring back those rates.
And it's hard to forget the fear that we all had back then. Yes. And for a short time, real estate was considered non-essential.
Mm-hmm. And no one was going out to visit homes or see them.
We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't access homes. We couldn't show homes. We couldn't be in the same house with somebody. And then it started to let up, but with some real precautions, one at a time, masks, gloves, everything. And there had to be something done by the feds to get people out of their houses, engaging and doing what they need to do of buy and sell houses. There are reasons why people need to buy and people need to sell. I hate to have someone not go to the next step that they're dreaming about or a necessity to do for another house because they're going to wait for the world to change and have the interest rate be the driving factor.
Absolutely. And some people haven't seen rates where they are today. We've got a lot of different generations of individuals coming into the market. And what everybody needs to know is that's not the norm. The norm for interest rates and the normal patterns for rates are somewhere in the 5, 6, 7s. I mean, you could be speaking to people in your family that paid 13 to 15% on their first home. It's very relative.
Well, and then let's talk about then versus now and how it relates today, because I feel like because the interest rates were driven down so low, all of a sudden the prices shot up.
Oh, yes.
And there
It
weren't
was
a
like
lot.
people were motivated because it felt so inexpensive to buy with rates. They wanted that rate.
Yeah.
But
And
as a
then
result, they paid an awful lot for those houses. And I know you guys experienced that.
over a
That was
hundred
bidding
grand,
wars. Yeah, bidding wars were crazy.
and it's not sustainable.
No, and the values truly were not always there. It's important for people to realize just because somebody offered $100,000 over asking price does not actually mean that the home was at that particular value. That was simply what someone was willing to pay.
So
And so when we look at,
then,
yes, exactly. And
back
so when we
then,
look at then versus now, we experience this opportunity of buying properties at list price.
I love that you use the word opportunity, because now they have an opportunity to buy a house contingent on the sale of their home. Couldn't do that back then.
Oh, no.
No, they have the opportunity to negotiate with the seller.
Oh, and possibly receive some credits. Those were a thing of the past for 5, 6, 7 years. We haven't seen those.
And to have an inspection and to be able to think about it for more than a half a second of if you want to buy this house or not. So back then it was a different story because of the conditions
Oh,
of
yes.
COVID. I don't see us going back to that.
I hope not. I mean, that we don't want those things to drive our market. And a stable and sustainable market is a market that is more buyer and seller balanced. And right now, sellers are still getting a very fair value, but buyers are receiving an opportunity to feel comfortable on the terms. So if you look at how you may be spending less for a home, even though the rate is higher, there's a very strong chance your payment could be near the same.
We'll have to talk about that a little bit because that's exactly one of the second questions that we have in our 3-part series. I wanted to talk also about the fact that the media, you and I, we're in this every single day. This is what we do for a living. So we're living, breathing real estate. And the media is like 6 months behind reality.
Oh, yeah, and news doesn't sell if news doesn't have a headline.
That's
And
true.
they're very interested in making sure that everybody is drawn into the story. And while a lot of times the story is relative, it's oftentimes very delayed. And it's oftentimes not even relevant. Nationwide news or national news is not necessarily our housing market. Every one of them is so incredibly different, state to state, city to city, county to county. And so it's hard to watch the news and feel as though you've got a good grasp on our market.
Well, then let's wrap up this series and go to the second series. And we're going to cover that question of, all right, what do we do with this information? Are there strategies and tactics around the interest rate? If I'm going to wait for the world to change and hope the interest rates could go down, we actually have some solutions for that. So why don't we get to that next? All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks for being here with me on this question.